So, I saw a video in my sub box. I haven't got the chance to, watch it yet. It was from, your Yu-Gi-Oh channel. And it was on the subject of, when Yu-Gi-Oh players get creative. I wanted to do something on the topic. I wanted to ask you guys, what do you feel it takes to get creative? The community has been anti-net decking for quite some time. No matter what you say or do, people are always on the hype that net decking is strictly bad and it destroys originality. The fact that players should see net decking as a tool for learning and for better evolution of the game, but people consider it degeneration. At the same time, it's two sides of a coin. People think it's bad because it kills diversity in the game, but at the same time, it builds creativity. Now, how does it build creativity, you say? 10 people can have the same deck. It's not the same deck 10 or card for card though. Each one of those decks will have the own unique spin from that player. This is where creativity comes in at this point. That one card change allows for tech for certain matchups, which leads to one card in a different matchup coming up at a different time, allowing for that deck to have a different diversity. This is much where the side deck comes into play. Back in the times in where we had transformation side decks, players could fully shift 15 cards in from their side deck into their main deck and then shift out 15 cards into the side. That could, fully change a deck. That stage in the game, that's where we had smoke screening and shifting sides. Now, players are like prophecy, it's all straight the same degenerate deck. Yes, it is the same degenerate deck, but the priestessless builds versus the builds without priestess. Budget players have had the ability to access the version. You don't have to spend the money on the priestesses. Judgments are somewhere between 40-45 right now. So if you're looking for a deck that's quick and easy to afford, that one, because you don't need the extra deck. But the thing is, at this point, the creativity comes in on the spin of the one or two cards that are in the deck that the player chooses to give a spin on the deck for themselves, and thus that's considered creativity to that player. Once again, though, the community would consider this degeneration on the same stance of the deck. The general senses of creativity is a player creating a brand new deck from scratch, and changing the meta, much like Jeff Jones has done in the past. Jeff is pretty much credited with reviving the Till Dead deck. He destroyed everyone with psychics. The thing is, Jeff is a very innovative player at that point, but there are two levels of creativity, much like Jeff's, those players that have changed the game with rolling in with a deck that's totally creative and new and unexpected, and there are also those players that put a spin on a deck to give them an edge on creativity, and both things should be considered creative just because of the 1 to 2 choices all the way to the maximum where you have a totally new deck that's destroying everything. Now granted, once again, the stance on the community is net decking is terrible, it's degenerate to the game, and it's terrible. Net decking is not terrible, and I've said this a million times over by now. Net decking spreads information, information about the game. There are two sides to the people that hate net decking in the spread of information. It is those that have a secret that they wish to keep secret. They don't want other players to know about it. Because it's game winning, and it's those that don't wish for the spread of information to be spread, for their own good, because they don't want to listen to something retarded and degenerate. The information spread we've had throughout the network now, Konami doesn't post deck lists, it's pretty much up to the Yugi-tubers. We Yugi-tubers spread the information not so much for net decking, but, for the ability for people to learn. And I keep saying this over and over and over again. Fish OTK topped Providence last year. Ain't nobody gonna get the deck list unless one of us does it. It's a learning experience at that point. Like, I straight up net deck the list because I wanted to see what was going on in his head. I wanted to get a feel for him, and I began to change the list from point A to point B, and get my theorio going to see what he was thinking and how I can put my own spin on the deck, and that's where we enter into the level of creativity. Now, net decking was the basis start of it, but it begins to spin. Yes, you do have the players that copy the deck card for card and play it. Not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying that that's good. But the thing is, you shouldn't beat down on those people because they might still be at the learning phase of it. Some players can only learn by going to a regional event, taking a deck and crash coursing it. I've done that with several gadget builds. I technically tend not to playtest any of the gadget builds anymore because when I playtest for so long, I get frustrated. And if I get frustrated, I start to want to change things. And, you know, with the level of creativity in my head with theorioing, you should be able to, you know, play out the matchups in your head and get them. Now, you can only play out certain matchups in your head unless you know those decks. And I have to play every deck probably for hours online to get the feel of them. Like, I played Dragons in March. I played Prophecies, or played against Prophecies in March with Dragons. So I could get the feel for, you know, getting the gear in my head turn. And, you know, picking up on how that would change to get the theorio to begin the creative process. So, once again, if you're going to net deck someone, make sure you know where you're going to go after a certain amount of time. Don't get mad at people for calling you net deckers. It only stops the flow of creativity, in my opinion. Net decking is an essential part of this game because it starts the information flow. Players can get a feel for what truly needs to be banned in this game. If we had no net decking, decks would probably last much longer than they do. You know, you probably go to a event, someone would play something against you, just blow your mind. You know, the next event you played against the guy, you know what you're playing, or you got a feel for his decks. You begin to, you know, implement your own strategy without knowing what he's playing. Once again, sort of information. You know, you're not giving people the exact information, but without the flow of information, stuff like that would happen. And, you know, net decking does a lot for that. So, once again, it's all about the flow of creativity in this game. What are your guys' stances on creativity? I know a lot of players tie it in with net decking, much like I did. They're both classic examples of what players have felt in this community, both good and bad. It's so bad to say that. Like, I don't know. Some players in this game, I feel like, don't understand the true grasp of competitive play. And it's rather sad to say that. You know, down to the casual player. Many casual players will smash on net decking because it hurts their chances of, you know, playing fun decks. And there's also the asshole that will go on DN, play unranked with Prophecy and Dragons, and just smash every casual player he finds just because he felt like it. I've done it. Feels good. Not gonna lie, you know, you're just having a terrible day. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go smash on the newbies. Talk about feeling better. But yeah, tell me what you guys think about creativity in this game. There are two extremes of it. Net decking much is tied into it over the years. So I know creativity still exists. It's just not existent in the form in which people wish it to be. But you can't totally say creativity is dead in this game because it does exist. Look at Curry, Incarnate Dragons. Dueling Days Game Up was probably one of the most coolest ideas I've ever seen. But you know, nonetheless, everything gets pushed under the rug because of the degenerate format. So, tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. And I think I'm done for now. This has been a pretty long rant.